Hey you guys, this is Jess with Sourceful Journey, back with another video. So today, this is a very tough topic to talk about. This is going to be more of a story time topic. It was going to be about how pretty much, I'm just thinking about how much to say. It was in regards to a hit out. Yes, you heard me correctly. A hit out was actually placed on me. I have been struggling with sharing this story for quite some time. Simply for the fact that just finding the words to say, how much to say in regards to this topic, rather than just coming out saying all the details of what I know. And I'm pretty sure that the very individuals who set this up, I'm pretty sure that they're going to see this. And that's fine with me. But I just want them to know, I know. And I'm pretty sure they've already figured it out at this point. That I now know. I know what I know, if you know what I mean. So without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and jump right in and I'll share some details with you guys. Okay, so what I'm gonna actually do in this particular video, I'm gonna try to keep it as neutral as possible as far as who could have possibly done it. But notice I said possibly, because I just don't want to give too much detail. I think it might hit them in the gut when they realize that I've actually figured out who did it. But I think they're probably starting to realize, like, wait, she knows more than what she let on for me to believe. Like, yeah, I do. And it was for a reason. It wasn't meant for you to know at that point in time that I do have that capability of knowing. It wasn't meant for you to know that, but now you do. So, have you guys ever encountered a scenario where you start to see various signs and synchronicities? You know, again, because it's all a part of this universe, God, of our angel team that's keeping us out of harm's way. Have you ever encountered a time where you notice these various signs and synchronicities and they're all aligned with a certain topic or this certain individual who may have had an experience that you were actually getting ready to embark on that you were not aware of? So, my experience was very much similar to what a famous figure had went through in terms of her being unalived. It was going to be in terms of dealing with a car, let's put it that way. So, I kept noticing this uptick. My God. And I kept thinking to myself, the different things I've seen in my day-to-day, as well as seen online. Why am I seeing so much about this individual? Yes, the way that she passed on was so tragic, so sad. But why am I seeing such a repetitive theme of this? This is my internal conversation I'm having with God. Like, what are you trying to tell me? Okay? Not realizing that that was his way, that was the team's way of letting me know, be prepared, because you're going to come across a scenario like this that's getting ready to happen because someone's trying to take you out. So, fast forward. It was like around December of last year, to be exact. December, I think it was like after the Christmas holiday. I was going to go visit some family, and I remember, you know, I haven't seen them in a while. And as I was getting ready to head back to my place, I just pulled up a ride-sharing app, and what ended up happening, you know, the car came up to pick me up. It was so interesting. See, and just to put a disclaimer, I might get a little tongue-tied because really talking about this topic is a tough one, because it's something I always held close to the chest. Because even though I know who sent it out, but I've always been unsure if I should ever do a story time on it. So I do want to say, excuse me in advance, because I might get a little nervous, a little tongue-tied. It's just because I have to be very cautious with my wording and make sure I'm not giving out too much detail about who it may be and anything else that could be specific in terms of the experience. So you might see various points in this video I'm pausing, just being cautious with my wording, or again, I might get tongue-tied. Just know it's just because it's just my nerves, that's all, when it comes to talking about this topic, okay? So to kind of get back to what I was getting ready to say here, so what was interesting, because the vehicle that pulled up to pick me up had a certain individual in the vehicle. The name didn't look like it matched the person. That was number one. So it was the name that you would think would fit a certain individual. It was a man, a certain type of man, but this individual did not look nothing like the name. 432 as I said that. Okay, another telling sign. The plate, the license plate on the car, was different from what a traditional plate would look like. Those of us who know, especially if you happen to have any type of political or governmental connections, you know there's certain plates that's tied to that arena, right? So, I don't know if I ever shared this with you guys. The cat's out the bag. Okay. So, at one point, this was years ago, I was actually engaged. I was engaged to this politician, okay? He's been in the game for quite some time. You see so much. We'll say that, okay? You're put on to information as far as what to look out for and how to know who's connected in what way or another. So, when it came to plates, license plates, I knew exactly what to look out for. Now, when this individual actually did come up to the house to pick me up, to take me to my destination, being my place, because I was visiting family, so I was leaving their house, I saw the plate, one of the plates, let's put it that way. Didn't think anything of it. I just could only think and laugh on the inside, like, oh, this is gonna be an interesting ride. So I got in, because again, mind you, as I mentioned, the name did not match the person who picked me up, and the plate was a dead giveaway. Little did they know I was gonna be able to pick that up, because they didn't know who they were dealing with until I got in the car. So as I got in the car, we're driving off. This individual sure was the talkative one. Had a lot of questions. The questions, in a sense, felt like I was being interrogated. For what reason? Don't know. But I played along with it. Gave them enough to hang themselves. But what they didn't expect was what was going to happen next. So I then started asking them questions. I flipped the script on them. It was so funny, because I remember when I was doing my undergrad, I took up undergrad in terms of, well, I've had several degrees, as I mentioned to you guys. I have several that are underneath me. One of them is political science. Oh, this was fun. So, oftentimes I could think back to the times when I was in school, we would have like very heated debates, and the questions got really intense, really detailed, but it was for a reason. It was with intent. And any of us who study in that field, that's something we were trained to do. We were conditioned to look for the facts not for the fluff that could be coming along with it. So meaning like we're not looking for, fluff responses. We want details. We want to know exactly what is going on, to put it plainly. So this very individual was asking me questions, and I was like giving him answers, pretty much like very blah, general answers. He didn't expect me to flip it back on him and ask him about his history. He wasn't prepared, obviously. His responses alone, the pauses in between his answers alone was a dead giveaway. The color in his tone, how he became more flushed, that I was asking questions and I was hitting him back to back to back, was very telling. All while he's doing this while driving me to my destination. I knew I hit the spot on that one. Like, gotcha. Your cover's been blown. And then this is the kicker. Now that I think about it, because when he was asking me all these questions, and he knew about the area I was going into, I said, wow, it seems like you know a lot about this area. Like, if I can ask you, like, how so? Like, how? And then he made a statement like, oh, I used to live over here. It's like, oh, okay. And then, I asked him, where do you live now? Oh, I live in a house in the downtown area. Now, the area that I live in, especially with it being downtown, a lot of us know that there are really no houses in the downtown area. It's mainly like hotels, high rises, restaurants, other businesses, things like that. It's a hub. It's a busy area. You don't see houses in this type of space. That was telltale sign number one. Number two, why would you drive well over an hour to a suburb just to do rideshare when you're right in the hub of a downtown area where there's so many more people within close proximity that is going to be pinging you back to back to back to get a ride share? What was the point of that? That was telltale sign number two, because after all, he did say that he lives in the downtown area in a house. Really? And then to say, well, that he traveled well over an hour out, which he did. It was well over an hour to my location. Apparently he was in the area and happened to pick me up. Do you see where I'm going with this, you guys? It was too many red flags, too much that was wrong when it came to this scenario, which led me to know this was a setup. I think what was telling was because with all that I was doing and asking him and being now focused on him, now he was my target, or as one would say, this is where the hunter becomes the hunted, and now it's hunting him from the back seat of the car. I think it threw him off in terms of what he was looking to do, what he was intending to do that day. So we got back to my location up here. He was asking me what floor I stayed on. Why do you care to know what floor I stay on? We're not dating. I'm just meeting you. Who are you? Right? He wanted to know specific details, you guys. Specific details. This man really messed it up. He really told on himself without even really telling on himself verbally. Without really coming out saying it. His actions and his questions and everything else. His body language. And again, just how he appeared when I flipped the script and I started asking him questions. His cover was blown, as you guys can see. So I told him the floor, but I told him the floor because the building I live in is like Fort Knox. So no one can make it to my floor, to my location, without me being notified. There's so much surveillance. This place is really like tightly secured. You won't be able to get through. Especially without my knowing. So, he was like, oh, I used to live on such and such floor, which happened to be the floor beneath my floor. I'm like, this guy's so full of ish. So I'm like, oh, that's good. Then as he pulled up, you know, he parks the car like right in the front. The doorman, he's coming out like to help me with my bags. This guy jumped out the car extremely quick. He didn't do it the first time when I was approaching the car with my bags. He didn't jump out the first time, which was another sign, because a lot of times I've had instances where the drivers would, for the most part, help me with my bags. He didn't do it the first time. I didn't say anything. I was slightly pissed by it, but I didn't say anything about it initially. But I do know when we made it up to the location, he jumped out so quick. He was so shooken up, like, because he realized, like, okay, I might have blown my cover. He did. It was too late. He was like, oh, you know, here you go, miss. I won't say my last name. We'll say Miss Jessica for right now. But he actually addressed me by my last name. He was like, you know, so great speaking with you, da da da. And I'm thinking, like, yeah, it's good speaking with you too. And actually, as he grabbed my bags, I guess he figured he was going to be able to walk in with me to my unit, my location. Secured him and stopped him. So no, we got it from here. When I tell you my location, you guys, it's so crazy. It's like Fort Knox. I'm not kidding you. This place is like so tight. It's like not even a joke. And I truly appreciate that. I love that type of environment, actually. But the guy looked, he took a step back. He realized, like, okay, I have to stop here. And then he went back to the car. But as he was walking back, I could tell that he felt like, you could just see it in his body language, like, man, I messed up. And yeah, that's that. So the next thing that happened, once I got to my unit, I got, you know, I kind of wind down, if you will. I guess you could say pun intended here, because I actually did get a glass of wine that night. And I started to record. But that recording, I didn't feel good about putting up because I really laid out the details. I really laid out the details on it. And so I deleted it. So I think that would have been too much, too juicy, as some people would say. At that point, I knew it had to be two people that came to mind. And then the second person I was thinking that could have possibly sent this out for me, I just thought to myself, like, but why? Why would you do that? Like, what did I ever do to you? The other person, I can see it being the case because they're disgruntled. I broke it off with them. I chose not to deal with their bullshit. And so I can see that. But even with that, to have such narcissistic traits, just feeling like that you own a person, that no one can have you but them. And if they can't have you, then no one can. So they send out a hit. Is it really that serious? Is your ego that bruised? That's pretty sad. That's pretty pathetic. It really is. You know, it's very telling. And just to think, as I said in the previous video, let's say I didn't take the approach that I did to jolt that individual who was sent for the hit. Let's say they actually were able to succeed in some form or another. Karma never loses an address. Not only for you for sending it out, but also for the individual that would have attempted to take this out. Oh, I just thought about something. Another thing that I want to point out, a lot of you guys who use rideshare, you know how in the apps, how the travel history, it would have the details that pop up right after, where it give you the name of the person, the vehicle, and time and date of when the transaction took place. I remember that app that I used, it had all those details in there from my past travel history. No big deal. But for some reason, after that trip with that individual, my travel history was wiped clear. It was clean. There was nothing on the screen. Why was that? Why was that? That literally sent chills down my spine. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Yeah. And I think, because at the time I believe I had a screenshot saved before it actually happened. I screenshotted it, I think, along the ride in case something were to happen or someone would have attempted something. So I was actually 2 steps ahead in doing that. And come to think of it, I think I actually sent one of my family members this screenshot. I texted to him while I was talking to this guy in the car, just as a backup, a safety measure. But yeah, it was completely wiped out. I've never seen anything like it. That too sealed the deal for me and letting me know, okay, someone really had the audacity to set something like this up, and they tend to do it in a way where it was just like, I guess you could say covert. I guess that's the word to use. I just can never see myself being that type of person that would be so tied to an individual where, you know, if we parted ways, that I would feel like, oh, I need to take them out or have them taken out in some form or another. 444, as I'm saying this, because, you know, if I can't have them, then no one can. It's a very pathetic, very sad way to live, in my opinion. So, yeah. That was a very interesting experience. And there were a few other things that followed thereafter that led me to realize this person's not gonna let up. They're really not. And it's, trying to be cautious with my words here. This video is gonna be a bit long, you guys. Part of the reason is because you're gonna notice, again, as I go through the story, I might, you know, pause here and there. I might have a few tongue twisters here and there in the video as well. It's only natural, especially when you're talking about a topic that's really tough to believe. That the very person you were in a relationship with, that you thought that you loved, would go to such an extreme as this. Yeah. Yep. But see, the amazing thing in all this is that shielding that God has over us, you can't come across that. You can't come against anything like that. That's the it factor in this. You see, again, thinking back to that experience, that encounter I had with the guy in the car, and I was asking about those questions, he wasn't ready. He didn't know what he was coming up against. He didn't know who he was getting ready to come across. See, I'm having tongue twisters here because it's just mind blowing for me. He didn't know who he was getting ready to come up against, and I'm pretty sure he had a story to tell when he got back. You know, if you're gonna send people out to do things like that, you first and foremost, you shouldn't. But if you do, make sure they're prepared. I don't think you guys had a good choice by sending that one out. Anywho, well, that's it for today's video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts about this. You know, it's not an easy topic to discuss. It's something that I've tossed around for quite some time. Like, do I say anything about it? Do I not? And, you know, the sad thing about it is that, you know, it's one of those things, you know, you're going to always be watched, right? We're all always going to be watched in some form or another, whether it be people that we are closely aligned with, or maybe people we have maybe not even crossed paths with yet. That's the reality of all of this, but it helps to say that when dealing with someone who has narcissistic traits like my ex, like I mentioned, you know, that's one of the reasons why I think it helps to be vigilant. It helps to be able to use your instincts, you know, go with your intuition. Because of course, God is never going to lead you wrong. God is never going to put you in a path where you're going to be harmed. You know, I think for me, my takeaway is that I got into the vehicle knowing what I knew in terms of, you know, what signs to look out for when it comes to license plates, things like that, body language. I got into the vehicle knowing that I should have probably just looked for another one to come and pick me up. So that was an example where I, in a sense, went with my free will. But I was able to recover, get out of that situation before it went downhill. That was the kicker right there. What if I would have gotten to that vehicle and was not aware of what was taking place? Because sometimes we could get so consumed with what we have in front of us and on our phones, and people could start talking to us, asking us all these questions, and we don't realize, like, okay, I'm giving them all these answers, but why am I feeling compelled to give this person this answer? As I mentioned to you guys, you know, with him, as we were driving up to my place, he wanted to know what floor I lived on, then happened to be the same floor he lived on. Well, there was a floor he lived on that was underneath me, you know, and then talking about that he lives in a house in the downtown area, which in this area there are no houses. It's high rises, apartments, businesses, things like that, because it's a busy hub of a location. You know, and the fact that he would venture out that far, well over an hour away, when there's so much business within the downtown area. Who does that? And especially when it comes to ride sharing, you know, you're always talking about, and I always hear a lot of these ride share people talking about saving money, talking about the gas prices being astronomical, things like that. They're always harping about that and how they're not getting a fair share of the money that comes in from these ride shares, that the company that they work for is taking most of it. I hear about that in the conversations too. So for people to talk about stuff like that and harp on stuff like that, it just kind of blows my mind that this guy would even travel that far out, when in all actuality, to get business, he really did not have to. Yeah, that's definitely a story for the books. And there's more that's happened over time that I've noticed. Ooh, it's interesting. It's interesting. But it goes to say, be careful with the company that you keep. You never know what type of nut job you're dealing with. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Yeah, and also I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts about this. Again, as far as contact goes, you can reach out to me here in the comment section below. You can also reach out to me on Instagram, Snapchat, emails. I love getting you guys emails. I actually checked just a moment ago before recording this video. So definitely keep that coming. It's always good to hear your stories and your responses in terms of my other videos I posted. And yeah, until next time, I am definitely sending you guys a love and light, and I'll see you in the next video.